All right, listen up. There's a moment. If you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you'll never forget. It's that instant when the fog clears, your gut clicks into place, and you finally see them for who they really are. And here's the wild part, they know you know. And when that happens, everything changes. This isn't just about drama or relationships. This is about power, freedom, and reclaiming yourself. Today, we're going to talk about exactly what happens in that moment, why it feels like the ground shifts beneath you, and how you walk away stronger than you ever thought possible. That moment when you realize exactly who you're dealing with is unlike anything else. For weeks, months, sometimes even years, you've been living inside a story that wasn't quite adding up. You've made excuses for behavior that hurt you. You've ignored small red flags because you wanted to believe the good parts. You've questioned your own judgment every time they twisted the truth or made you feel like you were overacting. But then something happens. Maybe it's something small. Maybe it's something big that snaps you awake. It could be a single comment that's just too cruel to ignore, or a contradiction so obvious you can't explain it away anymore. It's like the final puzzle piece slides into place and you see the picture clearly for the first time. Your body often knows before your mind does. Your stomach tightens. Your heart beats differently. You notice you're not doubting yourself in that moment. You're sure. That's when it hits you, the person you thought you knew, the one you gave trust, love, or friendship to, has been wearing a mask. And that mask isn't just slipping, it's fallen off completely. Every fake apology, every moment they played the victim, every grand gesture that didn't match their action starts flashing through your memory like a highlight reel. You're seeing the patterns, not the isolated incidents. You realize that their charm wasn't kindness, it was a hook. Their concern wasn't care, it was control. In that instant, there's no going back. The innocence of believing in their facade is gone. You can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. It's like someone turned the lights on in a dark room and you're seeing all the mess that was hidden in the shadows. And while part of you might feel devastated, because this means you've been manipulated, there's another part of you that feels relief, because now you're no longer lost in confusion. You're no longer trying to solve a puzzle that was designed to keep you stuck. Your mind starts connecting things you ignored before. The subtle digs that left you doubting your worth. The way they always made themselves the hero or the victim, but never the villain. The way your needs always somehow became too much or unreasonable in their narrative. The way you started editing yourself to avoid triggering their moods. Now, you see it for what it was, conditioning. And once you name it, it loses its grip. In this unmasking moment, you're not just seeing them differently. You're seeing yourself differently too. You realize you're stronger than you thought because it takes strength to face the truth even when it hurts. You realize your instincts were right all along, even if you ignored them. And you realize that clarity is a kind of power, because once you see someone's true character, you can make choices based on reality, not illusion. It's a moment of truth, and it's often quiet. No one else might even notice it happened. But inside you, there's a shift, and that shift is the beginning of everything that comes next. The moment they sense you figured them out, something changes in their eyes. It can be subtle, a flicker, a pause, a tightening of their jaw, or it can be explosive, like a switch has been flipped. Narcissists are master readers of social cues, and they can feel the shift in your energy before you've even said a word. They notice that your tone is different, your gaze is steadier, your silences are longer. They know when you're no longer swallowing their lies whole. And when that realization hits them, their reaction is rarely neutral. Some will go straight to defensiveness. They'll deny, deflect, and twist your words faster than you can finish your sentence. They might accuse you of being paranoid, oversensitive, or ungrateful. They'll throw past favors in your face, rewriting history to make themselves the selfless hero and you the unreasonable one. They need to reestablish the narrative where they're in control because your clarity is a threat to their power. Others will go on the offensive. This is where rage can erupt, and it's not always loud. Sometimes it's cold and calculated, delivered with icy sarcasm or a sudden withdrawal of affection. Too, they may unleash personal attacks that target your deepest insecurities, hoping to destabilize you. The goal is the same, make you doubt yourself enough to backtrack. If they can get you flustered, apologizing, or second, guessing your own feelings, they can pretend your breakthrough never happened. Then there are the ones who take the charm route. They'll become suddenly attentive, sweet, even apologetic. They might bring gifts, send long, heartfelt messages, or make grand promises to change. It feels like a complete 180, but it's not about love. It's about damage control. They're trying to rehook you before you drift too far away. The charm offensive can be even more dangerous than the rage because it plays on your empathy and hope. It makes you wonder if maybe you were wrong, if maybe they really are the person you wish they were all along. What's important to understand is that these reactions aren't random, strategic. Narcissists thrive on control, and your awareness is a crack in the foundation of that control. Whether they choose defensiveness, aggression, or charm, it's all designed to achieve the same thing, pull you back into the role where they hold the power. They know the version of you that questioned less, compromised more, and kept giving them the benefit of the day want that version back. You might notice them probing to see how much you actually know. They'll drop half-truths to test your reaction or make small admissions to gauge your forgiveness level. They might watch your face carefully when they mention certain topics, looking for signs of belief or disbelief. And if they realize you're not biting, their tactics can escalate quickly. Smear campaigns, silent treatment, sudden disappearances. These are all tools they'll pull out when their usual tricks stop working. The danger in this stage is the emotional whiplash. You might see them swing from icy disdain to over-the-top affection within days or even hours. It's disorienting, and that's the point. Confusion weakens your resolve. If you can't predict their behavior, you might slip back into trying to manage their moods instead of focusing on your own clarity. And yet, as intense as their reaction can be, it's also confirmation too. Their shift in behavior proves that they know you're no longer under the same spell. They've lost the easy influence they once had, and they're scrambling to get it back. In a twisted way, their reaction validates your instincts. You saw through them, and they felt it. Once they realize you see through their mask, the need to maintain control doesn't just stay the same. It intensifies. Every tactic they've ever used gets turned up to full volume. If before they sprinkled in a little gaslighting here and there, now it becomes a constant tool. They'll insist events you clearly remember didn't happen or happened completely differently. They'll twist your words so that you end up defending yourself against accusations you never imagined. The goal is to make you question your memory, your perception, even your sanity, because someone who doubts themselves is easier to control than someone who trusts their own instincts. Guilt becomes another powerful weapon in this stage. Suddenly, you're reminded of all they've done for you or all the sacrifices they've supposedly made. Every disagreement becomes framed as you being ungrateful or selfish. They may play up their own suffering, telling you how hurt, stressed, or misunderstood they feel. This is emotional debt collection, and they expect payment in the form of compliance. If they can make you feel responsible for their happiness or for stability, they can keep you tethered to them even when you know better. Smear campaigns also enter the picture when control is threatened. They might start planting seeds of doubt about you in the minds of mutual friends, family members, or colleagues. Often this is done subtly at first, little comments or questions meant to undermine your credibility. If subtlety doesn't work, they'll escalate to outright lies too, painting themselves as the victim of your mistreatment. This tactic serves two purposes. It punishes you by isolating you from potential support, and it protects them by controlling the story others hear. Another tactic you might notice is a sudden escalation in monitoring your actions. They may become overly curious about where you're going, who you're talking to, and what you're doing online. They could demand more frequent check-ins, snoop through your messages, or use guilt to make you justify your time away from them. The more they feel their grip loosening, the more they try to tighten it. In some cases, this controlling behavior can become obsessive, creating a constant feeling of being watched. The intensity of these tactics can create a kind of emotional exhaustion that works in their favor. You may find yourself giving in to small demands just to avoid another confrontation. You might even start second guessing whether it's worth standing your ground if it means another round of accusations or manipulations. This is exactly the outcome they're aiming for. Wear you down until compliance feels like the path of least resistance. At the same time, they may test different approaches to see which gets the best result. One day, they may try intimidation. The next, they may shift to affection and flattery. If you respond to the softer approach, they'll lean on that until it stops working, then cycle back to pressure tactics. This push-pull dynamic isn't random. It's a calculated effort to keep you emotionally off balance so you can't build a consistent defense. There's also an element of performance here. Narcissists often want others to see them as the reasonable, caring party, so their intensified control tactics may be carefully hidden from outsiders. You might notice how quickly they can switch tones when someone else walks into the room, transforming from aggressive or cold to warm and charming in seconds. This ability to present two completely different versions of themselves makes it harder to explain what's happening to those who haven't experienced it firsthand. The common thread in all of these behaviors is the same. The loss of control feels like a threat to their very identity. For someone whose self-worth is built on dominance and manipulation, being exposed isn't just uncomfortable, it's intolerable. So they push harder, dig deeper, and do whatever they can to pull you back into the role where they hold the upper hand. There comes a point where the confusion starts to lift, and that's when everything inside you begins to shift. For so long, the relationship with the narcissist has been a mental tug of war. You questioning what's real, wondering if you're the problem, trying to find ways to fix something that was never yours to fix. But once you've seen their true nature and recognized their tactics, the emotional fog starts to thin. It's not that the hurt disappears overnight, but your perspective changes. The same comments that used to sting in a way that left you reeling now land differently. Instead of questioning your worth, you start questioning their motives. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? You begin to ask, why are they doing this? And that single shift is the beginning of empowerment. This empowerment doesn't feel like a lightning bolt. It often starts quietly. You might notice you're no longer rushing to respond to their texts or scrambling to smooth over their moods. You pause before reacting. You take a breath instead of defending yourself right away. You stop explaining every decision you make. It's not about trying to provoke them. It's about reclaiming the space to think and feel without their constant interference. Those moments of pause are small acts of freedom, and they grow stronger each time you choose them. With clarity comes the realization that the patterns you endured weren't random. You begin to see the cycle, idealization, devaluation, manipulation, and how it played out over and over. It's almost like looking at a script you've been acting in without realizing you were a character in someone else's story. That awareness allows you to mentally step off the stage. You're no longer participating blindly, and that shift changes everything. The more you recognize these patterns, the harder it becomes for them to hook you emotionally. That dramatic outburst that used to send you into panic mode now registers as a tactic, not a truth. That sudden shower of affection after a fight doesn't feel like love anymore. It feels like bait. You start to detach not out of coldness, but out of self-preservation. Your emotions become less of a tool they can manipulate because you're no longer reacting in the way they expect. You also start to notice a growing sense of self-respect. for a long time. You may have tolerated things you never thought you would. Disrespect, lies, shifting blame because you were caught in the cycle. But with each boundary, you quietly reinforce. With each moment, you choose not to engage in their games. You send yourself a message: you matter, your peace matters, your truth matters. This doesn't mean you stop caring or that the connection suddenly stops affecting you, but it does mean you're learning to choose yourself over the chaos they create. There's a certain energy that comes with this shift, one they can sense. You're calmer, but not in a submissive way. You're less react, but not detached from reality. You're no longer giving them the emotional fuel they thrive on, and that change can unsettle them. They might accuse you of being distant or cold, but what's really happening is that their influence is weakening. The control they once had is slipping, and the balance of power is starting to tilt. At the same time, there's an inner reconciliation happening. You're starting to trust your instincts again, the very ones you were told were wrong or overblown. You're learning to listen to that gut feeling without dismissing it. You're beginning to see that clarity isn't just about seeing them for who they are. It's about seeing yourself clearly too. And once that clarity takes root, it becomes harder and harder for anyone to take it away from you out in the open. At least between you and them, it inevitably turns into a battle for control. A narcissist's entire sense of self is built around dominance, manipulation, belief that they are always the one steering the ship. Once they know you're aware of their tactics, the dynamic changes and the relationship becomes a tug of war between your boundaries and their determination to override them. They can't stand the idea of you having autonomy. Autonomy means they can no longer mold you into a source of constant validation and compliance. This power struggle rarely looks like a single dramatic showdown. Instead, it plays out in small ways. You might notice them challenging your boundaries every chance they get, not necessarily because they need what they're asking for. They need to prove they can still get you to bend. If you say no, they might escalate the pressure, turn to emotional blackmail, or subtly punish you through withdrawal or passive aggression. Each moment you stand firm as a threat to their control, and each moment you give in as proof they can still dominate the relationship. It's common for them to shift their approach repeatedly during this stage. One day they may come at you with full force, yelling, criticizing, or belittling you until you feel cornered. The next, overly accommodating or pretend to respect your space, hoping you'll drop your guard. These alternating tactics are intentional. They keep you off balance, get harder to anticipate their next move, and easier to slip back into old patterns. During this struggle, they often try to reclaim the emotional upper hand by baiting you into reacting. Make deliberately hurtful comments, bring up sensitive topics, or twist your words until you feel the need to defend yourself. The moment you react emotionally, they see it as a win. It's about what you say or do. It's about knowing they still have the ability to trigger you. If you can be triggered in their mind, you can be controlled. Layer of this power battle is the way they try to frame your boundaries as unreasonable, selfish, or cruel. They may tell you you're overreacting, making a big deal out of nothing, or trying to hurt them. By reframing yourself, protection as an attack on them, pressure for you to justify yourself. And the more time you spend defending your choices, the less time you spend actually enforcing them. See them try to rally others to their side during this stage. They could spin the story to mutual friends, family, or coworkers, presenting themselves as the one being mistreated. Events, your boundaries become evidence of your coldness or ingratitude. This is another way of exerting control, not just over you, but over the social environment around you. It can make you feel isolated or misunderstood. They believe you'll be more likely to give in. What makes this stage exhausting is the constant testing. They're walking along the fence you've built, pushing at every post to see if it wobbles. Even when you hold firm, they don't stop trying. They might wait for moments when you're tired or emotionally vulnerable to make their move. And because the struggle is ongoing, it can feel like you're in a perpetual state of defense. But the more you recognize it as a power struggle, that the game is not about the specific argument or demand. It's about control itself. Once you see that you can stop engaging in the fight the way they expect, and that's begins to weaken. Point when the constant manipulation, the shifting stories, and the endless power games become too costly for your peace of mind. You start building an exit strategy, not necessarily a dramatic overnight departure, but a deliberate and intentional process of reclaiming your life. At first, the idea might feel overwhelming. Experts at entangling themselves into every corner of your existence, from your emotions and self-esteem to your social circles and daily routines. Commit protecting your peace. You begin to dismantle that influence piece by piece. An exit strategy can start quietly, sometimes without them even realizing. Begin by setting firmer boundaries, saying no more often, and disengaging from conversations designed to bait you.